Ladies and gentlemen, gather around because today we're diving into a world of blood, ambition, and the brutal underbelly of 19th century London. A world crafted by the mastermind behind Peaky Blinders, Stephen Knight. You know that feeling when you step into a story expecting one thing, but it completely shifts beneath your feet. That's exactly what happened when I sat down to watch Hulu's A Thousand Blows, a show that promised bare-knuckle action, ruthless rivalries, and a gripping story, but somehow left me questioning if it packed enough of a punch. Let me paint the scene for you. London, the late 1800s. A city pulsing with opportunity and danger where the strong thrive and the weak are crushed. Our main characters: Hezekiah Moscow, a Jamaican immigrant who arrives in England seeking a new life. His best friend, Alec, his anchor in an unfamiliar world. Then there's Henry Sugar Goodson, a bare-knuckle fighter with a terrifying reputation. And finally, Mary Carr, leader of the infamous all-female gang, the 40 Elephants. Each of them wants something: power, revenge, survival. But in a city like this, wanting something and getting it are two very different things. Sounds exciting, right? A melting pot of ambition, desperation, and violence. And at the heart of it, a story of survival against all odds. But here's where things start to wobble. Right from the first episode, A Thousand Blows tries to build a world that feels immersive, grimy, and dangerous. And to its credit, the show does an incredible job making 19th century London feel alive. The streets are teeming with crime. The underground boxing scene is relentless. The accents are thick. And when I say thick, I mean thick. If you're not used to East End slang or fast-paced Jamaican patois, I highly recommend watching this one with subtitles. Trust me, your ears will thank you. Visually, the show does not disappoint. The cinematography captures the chaos of the fight scenes, the grit of the streets, and the suffocating atmosphere of poverty. The color grading is dark and moody, just as you'd expect from a period drama. It looks like it means business. But here's where things start to slip through the cracks. Because beneath the show's stunning aesthetic, beneath its ambitious premise, lies its biggest problem: it doesn't seem to know where to focus. At first, you might think this is Hezekiah's story. A man trying to make his way in a brutal world, navigating racism, violence, and the treacherous streets of London. Then, suddenly, it feels like a Sugar story, a vicious fighter obsessed with taking Hezekiah down. But wait, now it's Mary Carr's story, a woman leading a legendary female gang in a man's world. The problem? By trying to juggle all these narratives, none of them feel fully realized. And that brings me to the biggest letdown: the 40 Elephants. This was a real gang, a group of women who outmaneuvered and outlasted most of their male counterparts. They were ruthless, cunning, and terrifyingly effective. And yet, despite being marketed as a key part of the story, they often feel like an afterthought. Instead of being the powerful backbone of the narrative, they get sidelined, their potential wasted in favor of plot lines that don't hit as hard as they should. And then there's Sugar. Stephen Graham is an incredible actor. There's no denying that. His presence dominates the screen, his performance is raw and visceral. But here's the thing: his character. It's disappointingly one note. His only motivation seems to be revenge, and after a while, it starts to feel repetitive. There's no depth to his obsession, no complexity that makes us feel for him. He's just angry. And after a few episodes, that anger starts to lose its edge. We can't ignore the elephant in the room: Peaky Blinders. I mean, let's be real. The moment this show was announced, comparisons were inevitable. Stephen Knight has a signature-style gritty historical settings, anti-heroes clawing their way to power, stylized violence. But while Peaky Blinders felt fresh, unique, and layered, A Thousand Blows feels like it's trying to capture that same magic without fully understanding why Peaky worked so well. Maybe part of the problem is that Peaky Blinders took us out of London. It gave us a new world to explore: Birmingham, the Midlands, a setting we hadn't seen 100 times before. But with A Thousand Blows, we're right back in London, a city we've seen in countless other period dramas. And while the setting is beautifully recreated, it just doesn't feel new. And here's the real kicker: this isn't even the full story. Yep, the show ends on a cliffhanger, and we find out that what we've just watched is only half of the full season. The rest is coming later. And that, my friends, is frustrating. Because instead of delivering a satisfying narrative, we're left hanging, unsure whether the second half will fix the problems or double down on them. Now, let's talk about expectations. When we see a show from Stephen Knight, we expect something gripping, something that sinks its teeth into us and refuses to let go. And while A Thousand Blows has its moments, it never fully commits to what it wants to be. Is it a character-driven drama? A historical crime thriller? A commentary on race, class, and gender? It tries to be all of them, but in the process, it loses its impact. Does that mean the show is bad? No, not necessarily. It has strong moments. The fight choreography is brutal and realistic. The performances, especially from Malachi Kirby and Aaron Doherty, are solid, and the atmosphere is undeniably well crafted. But is it enough? Maybe when the second half arrives, it will tie everything together. Maybe the pacing will improve, the character arcs will deepen, and the 40 elephants will finally get the spotlight they deserve. And if that happens, I'll be the first to admit I was wrong. But for now, A Thousand Blows feels like it's pulling its punches. And in a world where period dramas need to fight to stand out, that just isn't enough. What do you think? Have you watched A Thousand Blows? Do you think it's a worthy successor to Peaky Blinders, or does it fall short? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and if you enjoyed this review, don't forget to like and subscribe for more deep dives into the latest shows and movies. Until next time, stay sharp and choose your fights wisely.